My husband installed a small camera on my blouse to catch me cheating with his best friend. Have you ever felt like someone is watching your every move? Imagine finding out that your own spouse has planted a hidden camera on your blouse. This is the shocking reality one woman faced when her husband suspected her of cheating with his best friend. I really deserve every punishment that my husband is giving, but why was I the only one who got punished while I actually had an affair with his best friend? Yes, I was his wife, or maybe I still am his wife because he refused to divorce me but decided to make my life a living hell. The funny thing is that he actually told me that he was not going to divorce me, but he will make sure that I suffer for all the heartache that I had caused. He actually made a promise that he will make me regret the day that we first met and the day I was brought to this earth. I know I took a wrong turn to deal with the whole thing. I know I shouldn't have fallen in love with his friend and best man, but he was giving me what I had been not getting from my husband. The guy made me feel secure, happy, and alive while my husband was busy with his own thing and focusing more on his career. It was supposed to be a once-off thing, but I got carried away and now karma is dealing with me so bad. Please give me tips on how I should have dealt with this. I still love my husband, but I don't know how to get him back. What should I do? I don't really know what came over me. Lust and craving for something outside your relationship can cause a huge disaster and drift between couples. I craved for something that I was not getting in my relationship. I went outside my perfect imperfect relationship and ruined the only good thing that I had. I regret it, and I don't know what to do to fix it. I cheated with his friend, who was also his best man on our wedding day. Now that I got caught, I don't really know how to recover from this. Where will I go, and what would I do without my husband in my life? I know I messed up, but can't he at least give me one last chance? I won't deny that I did him wrong, and what I did is unforgivable. I acted like a loose witch who doesn't think before taking action. Please tell me what I should do or say to make my husband rethink his decision. I miss him so much. My name is Mia Hendricks, female 30, and I first met my husband, Nick Mendez. I won't say on the road, but the day I met him, I had a flat tire and ran out of gas, plus it was getting late. I'd been stuck on the side of the road for like 2 or 3 hours. Mind you, that time I was very far from the gas station. Nick was a cop at that time, so when he and his partner showed up, they asked me what was wrong and why I was parking at a hijacking spot. At that time, I didn't know that my car got stuck on a hijacking spot since I was not from Brooklyn. To their kindness, Nick asked his partner that they should take me to the gas station. So they took me to the gas station and even helped me with my flat tire. They even made it their priority to convoy with me to my Nana's house where I was heading. I thanked them after I got to my Nana's house, but Nick randomly asked for my number, saying that I should call him whenever I am in a situation like the one I found myself in. To me, I felt like I owed him, or let me say them a token of appreciation for helping me out. Well, more like Nick helped me out because his partner was busy with his phone in the car. So I gave him my number and the guy decided to call me instantly just to make sure that I didn't give him the wrong number. Since then, we have been communicating via WhatsApp, Messenger, and Telegram. Nick is a natural, selfless, kind, bubbly person with a little bit of being down to earth and shy. He had a very beautiful smile for a man. We became friends. He would even take me on dates sometime during the time that I was visiting my Nana. I would enjoy every moment that I would spend with him. He was a funny guy with an amazing sense of humor. Another thing about Nick is that he is a gentleman. He knows how to make a woman happy. He knew exactly where to press to make a woman blush or smile. Not to forget that he loves his job so much to a point that even my Nana knows him by name. I had heard that he was a great help to the community when it comes to fighting crime and finding the bad guys or thugs. You know, even if he wasn't a cop or if my Nana was not a fan of his, I would have fallen in love with Nick. Anyway, when Nick was away, he was working night shifts. We used to call each other every day or every chance we got. Until one day when I called his phone and was answered by some random girl. I asked who she was, but she didn't answer me. Instead, she asked who I was and why I was calling her man. That day, my heart sank. I couldn't even concentrate properly on my job and school for a week, which led me to lose some focus and almost got me fired at work. Mind you, that time we were not even dating yet, but I was already jealous. I started acting like a psycho girlfriend on the poor guy because of the girl that had answered his phone. Did I fall in love with Nick sooner than expected? I asked him about the girl and he told me that she was no one. I don't know why my heart was broken because Nick and I were just friends, right? He apologized about the girl and promised to make it up to me when he gets back. So I forgave him when he did me wrong because he wasn't next to me. But when I do the same, it becomes World War II. I loved the way he would look at me, like I was the only precious thing that has ever existed. Whenever I was with him, I would find myself drooling over him. That's how handsome my husband, or let me say my ex-husband, was. His kindness and the way he made me feel like I am the only woman to exist on this earth made me fall much harder for him every single day. I loved everything about him, you know. He was just too perfect to be true. Time passed and we made our relationship official. Everything was just perfect. We were one of those perfect couples that doesn't fight a lot. Yes, we would squabble over some silly things, but it was never a big argument. Nick is bubbly and full of fun, but he had his quiet and reserved side. I liked the fact that he knew how to take responsibility for his own actions instead of running away from it or finding someone to blame for his behavior. Nick is that kind of person that would just bluntly say or speak his mind without caring how you will receive it. After we had officialized our relationship, we enjoyed each other's company. We were inseparable friends or twins. Yes, we had our fair share of struggles and challenges, but we would always conquer it all by sticking together no matter what. But I didn't like the fact that Nick was actually a person that doesn't open up a lot about his life, and I would say that he had some sort of anger issues. It's like he had experienced some childhood trauma that made him have anger issues, but he knew how to hide it with his smile and kindness. I think that's why he became a cop, to fight off his anger issues. 9 months passed, Nick proposed, and I officially became his fiancé. I was just so happy, and everything was still smooth at that time. That was the best thing I had ever got. Even my Nana was happy, and that was enough for my heart. It took us the whole year to think and plan what we wanted for the wedding, and when that day came, I messed it all up. All because of lust and craving for something different. He really made me the happiest woman alive, and I was just glad and felt blessed to have someone like Nick. I really and truly loved him. I just don't know what pushed me to commit adultery, especially with someone close to him. That's being evil and inconsiderate. We got married on the 12th month of our relationship. I knew where and what I was getting myself into when I said I do. But I just couldn't be satisfied with what I had, and went outside my marriage, and not only to jeopardize it, but destroy it in the process, without even thinking that I was breaking my vows. So one beautiful, sunny yet busy day, Trevor Gibson, the guy I had an affair with, male, 31, who was Nick's friend, and I first met at my small restaurant, as I was on duty to serve and cook for my customers that day since I was short on staff. He was friendly, kind, fun, and was always willing to listen to me and my problems, you know. I couldn't help but notice how attractive he was. He had a charming smile and a confident air about him that I found irresistible. Before I knew it, we were deep in conversation, and I found herself feeling drawn to him. As time went on, I found myself drawn to Trevor's youthful energy and zest for life. I began to feel a connection with him that I hadn't felt in a long time. However, I knew that I was committed to Nick, but I couldn't ignore the connection that I had with Trevor. Trevor and I were spending more time together, exploring new ventures. It was fun. I got to be free and be me again. Yes, I needed a friend to pass time with, but I felt something for Trevor. Despite my initial intentions to keep things platonic, my feelings for Trevor grew stronger each day. I found myself daydreaming about him and eagerly awaiting our conversations on a social media platform called Discord, since it was where we would communicate, because I didn't want my husband to find out about my newly formed friendship with Trevor. One day, I couldn't resist the temptation any longer. I had to either choose to stay away from Trevor and throw away how I feel, or I confess everything. So I decided to meet Trevor in a restaurant kilometers away from where my house is, just to see if our connection was the way I felt, or he was on his own game. So we arranged to meet at a local coffee shop, and my heart raced with excitement and guilt. So I confessed to the guy. I know it was a slutty move that I did, but I felt like confessing rather than to die with something that you had been longing to take out your chest. What surprised me was that he also felt the same way, but he wanted to keep our thing a secret because he had someone in his life, of which I understood because I also had Nick in my life, and if he was to find out about my abomination with his friend. But that time I didn't know that he was Nick's friend from university, and they were also working together on some cases because he had never introduced me to any of his friends up until the day he was hosting a braai at our house. Trevor's energy and mine just clicked, I don't know how, but we had that kind of connection or chemistry that I also can't explain. My husband, or must I say ex-husband, was always either working late-night shifts or long afternoon hours, and leaving me alone in the house. So on my day off work times, I would go and visit my Nana and stay with her. Even though our intimate moments were no longer the same, I was getting by him. The more my husband was not available, the more my feelings for Trevor grew stronger. We got so close to the point that I was no longer afraid to go out and meet up with Trevor behind Nick's friend. One day, Nick was hosting a braai at our house. I was surprised to see Trevor at that time. Nick introduced us. I couldn't tell him that I had already met Trevor, so I pretended like it was my first time seeing him. During the braai that Nick was hosting, I was not really comfortable because I didn't know what he would say to Nick since they were drinking alcohol. My heart was not really at ease. Trevor was working as an attorney, so the time Nick and I got married, he was busy with a big case outside the country. Trevor and I had already been out several times. He made me feel alive and appreciated, you know. What I did was wrong on so many levels. I should have ended the abomination whilst I had time, but guess what I did? I continued seeing him on the side. Well, I couldn't let go of him. I don't know why, but whenever I would think of cutting off our cheating, because he also had a girlfriend, I would feel like I would be letting go of my happiness. After some time, I decided to be brave and end things with Trevor, even though my heart didn't want me to, but because I loved Nick, and I believed that he was the one for me and no one else. I had always imagined myself spending my whole life and growing old with my first love. I couldn't risk Nick finding out about my abomination, as I thought that would destroy and jeopardize our relationship and destroy our marriage. Nick was the missing piece in my heart and soul, while Trevor was the happiness that I had been longing for too long. I knew I was loved and secured by Nick. He loved me for me, you know. He made me show the other side of me that I had never known existed. He knew how to treat me right and make me his first, well, when he felt like it or was not busy with work. I don't know what really came over me to mess such a good thing that was going on between Nick and I, but I guess my heart loved Nick so much, but it also desired Trevor's energy and the action because the guy really knew how to make a woman squirt without trying so hard. So days turned to weeks and weeks to a month. I had been trying by all means to ignore the feeling of needing Trevor, but I was really failing. I missed him. I missed the way he made me feel. I really tried to be the perfect wife for Nick, you know. I tried to be committed to my marriage, but it was just so hard. It was like I was forcing things with Nick. Yes, I loved him, and I actually still love him, but my body desired Trevor's affection and the way he was exploring my body. Sometimes I would even hand service myself while calling Trevor's name. That's how much affection he had on me. I then decided to just give Trevor a call, hoping that I won't find him with his girlfriend. Luckily, he answered the call and agreed to meet up with me at our usual spot. As I would go out more often, Nick eventually saw my sudden change behavior and the way I would dress when going out. So one day he came home and asked to speak with me. Mind you, that time I had plans with Trevor, but I obeyed Nick's request. So during our conversation, Nick literally asked me who I was seeing behind his back. Of course, I lied and said no one but he told him the truth, because if he finds out by himself, there would be a problem, and I would regret ever lying to him. As much as I wanted to tell Nick the truth, but I couldn't afford to put his friendship with Trevor in jeopardy. I mean, Trevor was his childhood best friend, and I was still enjoying my time with Trevor, so I decided not to tell Nick. I knew he was going to freak out when he learned about my affair with his best friend, but I had to protect all of us. I didn't want to witness Nick unleashing his anger issues and hurt someone in the process, because once he gets angry, he becomes uncontrollable and unstoppable. It just seems like he is possessed or something. I had asked Nick to try and talk to a therapist about his issues so that he would get help, but it was like I had poured gas on a fire. He busted and told me that he would never speak to a stranger about his life. You know, I pleaded with him and even gave him the mind-blowing intimate sessions, but he just wouldn't budge. I love my husband or my ex-husband so much, but he's just too stubborn and always wants to do things his own way, which was somehow frustrating to me. Time went on and our anniversary came. I was actually not even looking forward to it because things were not sparkling like they were before between Nick and I. Mind you, we had started a tradition of celebrating all our anniversaries. Nick has always been the one in charge of how and where we were going to celebrate our anniversary. So this time he decided to make an exclusive party, whereby we would invite all our close friends and families and maybe colleagues. Meaning Trevor will also be at the party as my man's best friend, of course. So the party went on and everyone was enjoying themselves, but I wasn't, unfortunately. I had been stealing glances with Trevor and I really missed his action. It was really hard being in the same room as Trevor, knowing that we were actually in an affair, some sort of relationship. I had asked Noah to act civil around me, and I would do the same because I didn't want people to start speculating things. Even though I was not comfortable with my decision, it had to be made, so we agreed on being civil towards each other. So when he saw me sitting alone, he came over and we started talking. It was surprising how he could pretend like everything was okay while I was shaking in my boots. I didn't want Nick to see us together. I think it was guilt eating me up, but the guy was relaxed, so I had to also pretend and relax. As the night went on, Trevor and I continued to chat, and our affection grew stronger. We danced together, shared a few drinks, and eventually found ourselves alone in a secluded part of the venue. I knew there and then that I must have fallen hard for Trevor because I had missed his touch, the way he would appreciate my body and make me feel young and carefree. I know I shouldn't have done that, but I couldn't resist. He had that soft touch that would make me want to ask him not to stop what he was doing. It was like his touch and kisses were a drug. Not to mention our intimate moments, they were what I had been. We were there under the moonlight when Trevor and I kissed for the first time since we broke things off. Our kiss was passionate and intense, and we both knew that we wanted more. I know what I did was wrong and evil, but I couldn't resist. I missed him. And the way our kiss was heated, I knew that he missed me too, even though we knew that we were doing something wrong, and there were great chances to get caught. For the next few months, Trevor and I continued our affair in secret. I mean, we couldn't resist each other. He was bringing me happiness that I was not getting from my husband since he was always busy. So we would meet up at hotels or secluded parks, always making sure to keep our relationship hidden from everyone else. I know what I did was sluttish and evil, but I had to at least get my happiness outside since my husband couldn't. I mean, Nick is the kind of guy that would be romantic, shower you with love and all, but when it came to affection, making a lady happy, he dismally failed, which led me to crave for something else, something that would make me happy and feel complete. I wanted to be myself. I have seen one of Nick's friends with his wife and the way the guy was treating his wife, touching his wife. I wanted that. I craved for it, and I got it from Trevor. Even though it was all lust and affection, there was no love. Weeks later, I had been living in fear and thought that my husband was seeing through me what I had been doing. I felt like the abomination that I had done was written all over me, and it didn't help with the guilt I was feeling. During those weeks, my husband suddenly decided that he was moving out of the house. When I asked him why he was doing that, he told me that it was for the best, not only for him, but for myself also. I didn't understand his lame and lousy excuse, so I fought with him about moving. After the whole begging and throwing tantrums that I did think he would change his mind, the guy continued with his plans and moved out of the house. Not knowing that his idea of moving out was actually a trap, and I actually fell for it. Nick was a police officer, but he knew his way around computers and those dodgy things that hackers do with computers. As I was still sad about how Nick left saying he was moving out, I received a call from Trevor, asking me what I was busy with and if I would be able to meet up with him at a certain bed and breakfast, B&B, name withheld for security purposes, that was not too far from New York. At first I hesitated, but eventually gave in because I told myself that I had nothing to lose by the way, plus Nick had left me in the house alone. Later on, I wore my coat with a sexy number underneath. I looked super sexy, I would say. We had agreed that we would meet where we were going, not knowing that I was bugged, imagine. So Trevor and I met, and the moment we saw each other, we literally got it on, the action. We made a lot of love, and I was enjoying every moment of it up until we both got hungry. We knew that we had to order something to eat. We continued with our lovemaking or intimate session while waiting for the food. I think I had fallen so much in love with Trevor, and somehow I had to end it before it was too late. Well, it was already late, darling, because my husband had already found out about my abomination. But as time went on, I began to feel guilty about my affair with Trevor. I knew that I was hurting Nick, the man I had promised to love and cherish for the rest of my life. But what would I have done if he didn't care about my happiness and my desires? The only thing he would do was to shower me with gifts, romantic dinners, and love, but that was not enough for me. I didn't need any materialistic things from him. I needed his attention, affection, and happiness. Sometimes love alone is not enough, right? So as Trevor and I were spending the night together, I was just happy, you know. Well, more like my heart desire was fulfilled. So after having a lot of ***, we decided to take a break and chill a bit. So we watched a TV that was in the room that we were in. Then all of a sudden we heard a knock. My mind quickly registered that we had ordered something to eat, and we had forgotten about food because we were so cooped up in our moment of intimacy. So I decided to go and open so I could take our order. Mind you, that time Trevor was butt naked, and I was wearing lingerie only. So I opened the door and got the worst shock of my life. I just couldn't believe it, you know, like I was asking myself, how did he find me and who told him that I would be here? I knew there and then that I was screwed, and there's no denying it. Nick was standing right in front of me looking at me, wearing lingerie only. Surely he told himself that I was going to accept the food while wearing something floozy. I knew there and then that my marriage was hanging on a very high and dangerous cliff. You know when you get that feeling that tells you that everything you had worked hard for was about to go south instead of north side? That was what I had felt, and I couldn't even blame anyone for it. About a week after he had moved out, A delivery guy had come to the house stating that he had come to deliver the parcel when I asked who had sent it. He told me what all other delivery guys usually say, "I don't know, man, I'm just a delivery guy." My conscience told me that maybe it was something from my business clients since I was an artist. Little did I know that it was actually divorce papers, and he wanted me to move out of the house. I thought I was going crazy, like my mind was about to burst like a bomb. I couldn't believe why Nick would just decide to send me such things. Why couldn't he sit down with me and talk like a married and matured couple? But he went out there and filed for a divorce plus full ownership of the house. I couldn't let him win just like that. If he wanted to go, he should have told me, but not to go to our family lawyer and file for a divorce plus full ownership of the house. I was actually given 2 weeks to vacate the house or else legal actions would be taken against me. And I knew that even if I was to try and fight him, I wouldn't win because I was the one who went outside my marriage and committed adultery. I knew that IF **** get up, and I'm owning up to my Shay ****. But why would Nick kick me out of the house? I mean, the house is a joint asset that we both contribute to. So why would he take such an extreme decision? You know, that night when he caught me and Trevor in that B&B, I really thought he was going to start his anger issues episodes. I would actually prefer him to be enraged, destroy things, and throw insults. But the Nick that was in that B&B was someone I don't know. He was too quiet for my liking. I knew my husband would just burst when he found something like he did, but he was just calm. And I knew that the calmness was not a good sign, and I had to be worried. As we sat there, Nick calmly asked what was going on, and words got stuck in my tongue. I'm not a person who just gets tongue-tied. I always have answers for everything. But that day I was stuck and I froze on the spot. It was like my mind went into another freezing zone and it couldn't think properly. My heart was beating pretty fast. I didn't know what to do. And Trevor, on another hand, came out to check why I was taking so long to get the food. Little did he know that he would put himself in a serious situation. Trevor and Nick just made eye contact and it wasn't comfortable. I couldn't believe the guy. He should have just apologized and maybe lied to Nick, telling him it was what it looked like or it was not what he was thinking. I mean, these people were best friends and I had to destroy that friendship because of my evil desires. But no, he sat there waiting for whatever Marcus was going to do. After some time, I contained myself and came back from the freezing zone that my mind was in. So I hesitated, not wanting to hurt Nick, but also not wanting to lie to him. I've been spending time with Trevor, I said, my voice trembling. Not because I was scared of Nick, but I was scared of the outcome that would take place. I didn't want to lose Nick over Trevor, his supposed best friend. Yes, the guy was charming, handsome, and sexy and all, but I didn't want to lose my husband. Nick was my strength, so I couldn't allow a guy that I had known for like 2 seconds ago to destroy what Nick and I had built. I had to tell the truth and hope for a better outcome. 2 days later, my husband and I went back to Brooklyn. Well, more like I went back because I was driving in the front and he was following me behind. When we got home, he didn't talk to me for the whole 2 days. The only thing he did when we got back home was glancing at me with eyes full of hatred and anger. He was pretty angry at me. I know I had done him wrong, but if he was there with me, none of that would have happened. But I couldn't tell him that because it would sound like I was selfish for wanting to spend more time with him. But he decided to put his job first over his wife. So over the next few days, my husband became more and more distant. He stopped talking to me, and when I asked why he was avoiding me, we should probably talk about the matter at hand somehow. I knew that something was wrong, but I had no idea what it was because as much as I did him wrong. I told him the truth of what was happening between Trevor and myself. He told me that he has a clip of me calling Trevor's name and telling him about the loneliness that I was feeling in our marriage. I couldn't believe that he went behind my back and did that. He even told me that I was just like all the other loose and cheap women, who were always looking for fun and good times with other men. He asked why I couldn't cheat with other guys, why I chose his best friend, and he couldn't believe that he had married a cheap, evil witch, that I should sleep with one eye open and always look over my shoulder wherever I go, because he was going to destroy me just like how I destroyed his heart. That really stung because the way he said those words, it was like he was swearing at me, and yes, he was actually. It really hurt me to hear him say that, but the voice that he used to say those words was a mix of anger, disappointment, hurt, and sadness. I knew there and then that I had hurt my husband in the worst way possible. I felt a stinging sensation in my eyes as his words hit their mark. I had never been one to cheat on my husband, but I had let my desires get the better of me. I tried apologizing to him, but he didn't want to hear it. The only thing he wanted to know was why I did that, meaning I had to come clean. Hoping he would understand and we find a common ground to solve whatever happened. I mean, it was not like I had fallen in love with Trevor. It was just a, you help my desires and I help your situation. So I told him that it was not my intention to hurt him, but I just needed something more in my life. I mean, he was always busy for me. The only time he would spend time with me was during dinner or spend time with his computers and not me. And even our bedroom activities were no longer exciting and affectionate. As I went about my day, completely unaware of the lens capturing my every interaction, the truth slowly unraveled. What started as a normal day turned into a nightmare as the footage revealed the heartbreaking betrayal. Trust shattered, relationships destroyed, and lives forever changed by a simple piece of technology. I just couldn't believe that Nick would actually do this to me. My mind was playing a lot of clips. Somehow I thought that maybe they were working together with Trevor. Maybe I was a bait to check if I was loyal and weak or not, and I fell for that trap. Weeks later, I had gone back to my Nana's house since Nick kicked me out, and I didn't win for obvious reasons. 2 police officers came to my Nana's house and asked to speak to me. They told me that I was involved in some fraud, whatever thing that they had said, and just like that, I was arrested. As if that was big enough, but when I got out of prison after a month, I discovered that all my banking accounts were frozen. I couldn't believe the fact that Nick had destroyed my life like that. I had lost my clients and everything. I mean, no one would want to associate themselves with a fraudster, right? As I had thought I had suffered enough, the clip of me and Trevor making out was actually all over social media. That really took the little energy that I had to survive. And I knew that it wasn't going to end there because Nick had already warned me. I don't know what I should do. I still love the guy, but I'm scared for my life. Please help me.